Hey everybody, it's Reba Haas from Team Reba and Remax Metro East Side and the show Open House with Team Reba. And coming to you from my back deck, patio, porch, whatever you want to call it. Figured we'd do something a little more informal, and it's such a gorgeous day outside. Why not enjoy it, right? But here's the thing, just like we're always bringing timely real estate news to you guys, today's topic is going to be a little bit different. Even though we will talk a little bit about what's going on in the marketplace, as you know, we're also changing this up a little bit. So it's me on Tuesdays, and then on Fridays, I'll be doing this with my co-host of the radio and podcast show, Eric Osnes, on Fridays at 1-ish. I'm a little, not discombobulated, I'm a little bit different in my demeanor today, partly because of a question that came up from one of my clients today. And it's something that we're going to be taking a close look at what it eventually will do in terms of impacting us in the marketplace here locally. Don't know how many of you were aware of the executive order given yesterday, hey Jonathan, by President Trump regarding visas, immigration work visas. I have people asking me questions about what it means to our local market, because we do have a strong tech environment here, and and whether or not it's going to impact what's going on with prices and demand for property. Many of you may know that about 1 in 4 tech workers is someone who has come from another country. And so that then also means that that's a significant number of people here in our local community, spread out among, hey Jonathan, spread out among the multiple counties that are here, and of course the major tech centers being primarily in Bellevue and Seattle, Redmond, that type of thing, Kirkland, of course, and then of course even Boeing still has people from outside of the area, right? So while it will have an impact to a degree, we still are seeing like large numbers of volume of buyer activities. And I will tell you, they're not necessarily in the price points that we always see the typical tech worker in. I can tell you just anecdotally, most of the tech workers that I work with, because of the income range, most of the time we're looking at 500, 750 to 1.5 million is kind of like a typical first-time buyer price point range. Typically more so on the 650 to 1.2 million is probably the one that we see kind of the, I hate to say sweet spot, because that's still a pretty big broad range of price points. But I can tell you what we're going to do is we're just going to monitor it. I've mentioned the last several weeks that because of the really historically low interest rates that we've had, tons of buyer activity going on, but the majority of that activity is in between the 250 to 500 and even up to 750 price point, with the kind of around the $500,000 range, being 350 to 500 being probably the most active. And then the next most active is up to the 750 mark. And then just below that is the 250 to 350 range. So there's a lot of activity that's not even necessarily being driven by tech. So I think we're not going to really see the impact of this immediately. We also have several quarters that this is impacting. Right now that executive order is impacting through the end of 2020 unless some other adjustments are made. I mean, he just made the announcement yesterday. However, I'm very curious, for those of you who will watch this video, what's the commentary in your office? Are you with one of the firms that has a lot of folks with H-1B visas or the L-1s? Because, like with the L-1 is for transfer. So like I've worked with customers that have come from Amazon in Shanghai, and they've worked, for Amazon maybe for 1.5 years, 2 years, and then they get transitioned over here because they're taking a position that, the headquarters is, kind of running everything around that. Then of course, we have plenty of people who are working at, Uber and Expedia and Amazon and, you name it, that have come specifically for a job, I know some of the things I was reading online with the Washington Post, some of the reporting happening there was saying that, probably a good 75% of those visas in the tech sector tend to be hitting India in specific. But, again, it's kind of a big open-ended question right now. We're not the only market in the United States that's impacted by tech workers. Obviously, Silicon Valley is going to be another big one. Southern California will be another area. Areas like Boston and some of the other big centers of the East Coast, and then of course even Austin in Texas. So, I'm curious to hear what you guys have as conversations. I've been talking to some of my other friends who work in kind of higher level positions at tech companies, and we know that there was an amicus brief from a few years ago that many of the tech companies all signed on to, basically saying that they thought it was bad policy, and that it would greatly inhibit their organizations. I know this is being touted as a, hey, let's save American jobs, during this pandemic period, and frankly, those weren't the jobs that were the problem. So it's kind of an interesting set of commentaries that are going on right now, and ways of positioning that I think frankly are a little on the BS side of things, but that's just my own personal thoughts. So I'd be curious to know what you guys think, so feel free in the comments down below to have that on there, and tell me what your thoughts are, or what you're hearing from your companies, or what your company is actually even doing about it, or are you impacted by it, because that bit of information will help inform us on how we can respond to our clients. Because right now, I don't see it necessarily being the biggest impact. It may impact some of our higher price point properties as they come on market. But again, it's only a certain segment of the market. So we'll see. The jumbo loan market was hit for a little while because of interest rates, and then interest rates came below 4% again. So anything that's above kind of a 750 plus price point, we'll see. We'll just see. The person who brought this up to me happens to be at Amazon, and I have another Amazon client who just decided to put their stuff on hold because they just got done having 2 years there, and they were waiting because there wasn't enough inventory that was interesting enough for them. So they were going to wait and save, and then also have more stock option down payment available to them. So, it's an interesting set of circumstances that we're going to watch very, very closely. But like I said, I would love to get your insight and input to what's going on in your part of the world, and the firms that you work for. And if there's any questions you have for me around the market, let me know. Just to kind of underscore what I was just discussing about the activity here. Many of you know that we have had done on some of these prior videos, when I have Eric on, we have to actually use Zoom in a webinar version for that, and that allows for me to screen share, but me just doing a regular Facebook Live doesn't allow that at the moment. But what I was going to point out, actually I can do this for you guys. I'm going to show my screen this way. So the thing that we care about the most here is looking at that Market Watch data. So you can see we're still at sub 2,000 listings for the past week, while we had nearly 4,000 pendings. And you can see also our listings sold have picked up in terms of the pace, because they were sub 2,000 over the last few weeks as we had things happening with COVID and it impacted the market. So what I just want to point out is that we are continuing to see strong buyer activity, that being close to 4,000 units per week. That's been running for about a week and a half right now, and we do not anticipate it necessarily going down very far, as long as we don't have any other major disruptions, right? So right now, interest rates are still looking really good. I'm going to be recording the show with Eric this afternoon, so we'll be talking about the rates again, and like I said, and that'll come out on Saturday, but on Friday we'll also do a recap of what's happening. I will say, great reminder, I had a great conversation this last weekend with a good friend of mine, talking about where the rates are at. If you haven't looked at your mortgage, or if, let's say you have a mortgage plus a line of credit on your home and you want to try and save some money, please go take a look at that, because this friend of mine I don't know when he pulled this mortgage out. I haven't looked his house up specifically, but I did connect him to Eric just yesterday. And I can tell you, his house was listed, has an interest rate of 4.9 or so. He wasn't exactly sure, but he knew it was high fours. And he has a line of credit at 5%. And so he can combine those right now and really drop that payment, because he's still under jumbo loan status. So loans are still available in that, you know, higher loan value amount above conventional, but yet not at jumbo. And he can still get down sub 4%. Oh my gosh, you guys, if you knew how much he's going to save just by putting that all together and getting it under 4%, I mean, it's incredible. So if you haven't looked at your own mortgage recently, please do. You know, if you're above 4%, please go talk to somebody and see if it makes sense for you to go ahead, especially if you're going to hold onto your home for quite a bit longer. Please go take a look at that, because it's just, there's no reason why you shouldn't. Unless you're in some kind of other financial straits, this is a really great time to get yourself in a really good financial position and to save some money that then you can use for other things, such as your retirement or vacations or any of these other things that people want to have in their lives. So anyway, I'm going to finish that up for today's version of Facebook Live on Open House with Team Reba. And if you have any questions for me, you have other topics you want us to cover, let me know. I will be watching closely what goes on with this whole visa issue. And again, would love your feedback and insight on that as well. So anyway, talk to you guys soon, and reach out if you need me. Reba@teamreba.com is my email. 206-910-3429 is my cell.